The more I listened to these comments from Stephanie White, the more convinced I became that this organization is completely out of touch with modern sports. They don't have the slightest clue on what modern sports look like. Because this isn't just about one press conference. This isn't just about one game. This isn't even just about Caitlin Clark. It's common sense. This is about an organization that seems to view the fans as like an inconvenience, rather than the very reason that the franchise is experiencing this unprecedented growth. They don't look at it like that.
What you thought was a game-winning celebration. That was the exact moment everything truly fell apart in the Indiana Fever locker room. Because that shot, it wasn't just a basket. It was a ticking time bomb that just detonated the entire season, cracking wide open a shocking power struggle that has been simmering beneath the surface all along. That last-second prayer from Caitlin Clark was supposed to close the book on a difficult night, to silence the critics and unite a struggling franchise. But instead, it did the exact opposite, ripping the whole story wide open for the world to see. One impossible shot from the generational talent, one locker room suddenly filled with an almost unbearable tension. And now, whispers of a trade request are bouncing around the league like a loose ball nobody can control. What the H*LL really happened behind the scenes in Indiana? And why does every celebration surrounding this team look a little too quiet, a little too forced for comfort right now?
Good morning, top of the morning. It is game day for the Indiana Fever, and it looks like Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever are set to continue to sabotage Caitlin Clark. We already see Sophie Cunningham's being punished, and it looks like Lexi Hall may be on that list of punishment going forward. We all know this organization has been moving in a diabolical manner, absolute diabolical manner. This organization has been moving in.
Backslash in.
A couple of things with Caitlin Clark with regard to her defense, because obviously we have seen with the absolute incompetence of Stephanie White as a coach, period, including defense, which we keep being told she's known for. And I have countered with that with saying Stephanie White seemed like a good defensive coach when she was allowed, or her players were allowed, to basically play rugby, right? I mean, she had Alyssa Thomas, and we all know what Alyssa Thomas.
Game winner, especially one from 31 feet out to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, is typically the kind of moment that sends a franchise into pure, unadulterated euphoria. It's the highlight that gets replayed endlessly, plastered across every sports show until the footage literally wears thin. Yet in Indianapolis, that buzzer beater somehow landed with the chilling emotional weight of a problem nobody, absolutely nobody, wanted to unpack in real time. It was as if the ball dropping through the net carried consequences far beyond the scoreboard, leaving everyone on the bench frantically searching for the correct reaction, a performance they clearly had not rehearsed. This wasn't just about 2 points. It felt like a silent declaration, a sudden shift in the league's most talked about narrative, and the chilling part is, the players themselves seem to know it instantly.
Stephanie White is finally admitting her system does not work. Now, there has been growing concerns about Stephanie White's style of play made for Caitlin Clark, and the system that she has been designed for Caitlin Clark these last year and a half just does not work. And I think us as Caitlin Clark fans that's been watching since the Iowa days, the real fans, we know Lisa Bluder's system forever worked. She designed everything around Caitlin Clark, offensively, defensively, and that's why they was able to go as far as they went.
Backslash in.
White, and we got WNBA legend Nancy Lieberman weighing in on the fact that Caitlin Clark pretty much drives this entire league. That she owns this whole league. And why does she own it? Well, simply put, people aren't tuning in. There's no new CBAs. There's no big money. And there's no ratings without Caitlin Clark. So you could say, to a certain extent,
because according to fans, analysts, and the relentless constant churn of post-game interpretation that follows every single move involving Caitlin Clark, the final seconds of that matchup against the Washington Mystics did not just decide a win. Oh no, it reignited a fiery, season-long debate that has been building quietly, almost conspiratorially, about control, about identity, and about who ultimately defines the direction of the Indiana Fever franchise. This isn't just about excess and O's anymore. This is about a power dynamic that has been pushed to its absolute breaking point, threatening to unravel a team that was supposed to be the WNBA's next big thing.
Okay, Caitlin Clark needs to figure out how to get the hell out of there. She looks like a hostage in these pressers whenever she's in the locker room next to Stephanie White. It's been so much going on. There's a clear divide in the locker room, and this is a clown show that needs to come to an end at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. Now, the Indiana Fever are taking on the Chicago Sky today. And it looks like the Indiana Fever are set to send out a message to Caitlin Clark, to Sophie.
/in, /in.
Brought attention. She did it for us. We had never watched, and we have become big fans.
I don't think her contributions have been extreme as what people think they are. I think the league in itself has been getting better, and that's really what we should be focusing on.
I think she's brought a lot of attention to the WNBA.
Now listen to this part. The absolute irony here is that the sequence most people expected to be remembered as a clean, unambiguous basketball story quickly became something else entirely. Something far more sinister, far more complicated. Instead of a simple celebration of a deep, clutch shot from well beyond the arc, the immediate aftermath was filled with a torrent of questions. Questions about bizarre rotations, about questionable decision-making from the coaching staff, and whether that final possession was even meant asterisk to unfold the way it did, with the ball in Clark's hands. It felt less like a designed play and more like a chaotic accident that somehow, miraculously, ended in a win, but left everyone wondering, was this pure genius or just pure luck exposing a deeper malfunction?
Comes up to me and tells me that he's so frustrated he's yelling at the TV because he wants Caitlin to shoot more. And you see social media, of course you do, and we all do. And we see frustration if Caitlin doesn't have the ball, or if something goes wrong, or if the team doesn't play well in the fourth quarter, all those things that happen in sports.
You can just tell Stephanie White's blood is boiling. She hates being asked real questions.
What's your answer to those fans? I don't know that I really have an answer.
/in, /in.
Thing is another what this Indiana Fever. When everybody's celebrating Caitlin Clark hitting the buzzer beater to beat the Washington Mystics, you still have some drama and controversy around the last play. Now we want to know, was the play designed for Clark to hit the logo 3, or was it supposed to go to Kelsey or possibly AB or something of that nature? Now, when you look at the last play, Kelsey is running full steam ahead towards Sophie to get that ball. Sophie read the defense. Good basketball IQ, Sophie.
Yeah, fans were absolutely losing their minds over that possession, which concluded with Clark stepping into a long-range attempt that buried itself in the net from roughly 31 feet. It's been described by commentators in wildly different ways depending on their perspective. But what simply cannot be ignored is how utterly chaotic the lead-up felt when broken down in excruciating slow motion, especially after Clark had already endured an early second quarter sequence that completely shifted the emotional tone of her entire night. During that earlier stretch, Clark had started aggressively, pushing the tempo and forcing defensive rotations, operating in the exact, electrifying rhythm that has defined her career since college. But a phantom foul call early in the second quarter became the inexplicable pivot point for a substitution decision that immediately raised eyebrows among viewers who are accustomed to seeing her play through momentum rather than be inexplicably pulled out of it so early in a crucial game. The decision, vaguely attributed to coaching judgment by Stephanie White, sparked an inferno of debate because it came at a moment when Clark appeared fully engaged and absolutely scorching hot. But wait, it gets worse. What intensified the reaction wasn't just the substitution itself, but the visibly raw frustration that followed when she showed clear signs of wanting to re-enter the game and was instead inexplicably held back on the bench, almost as if she was being deliberately sidelined. Yet the game did not truly settle into full-blown controversy until that final possession, when what appeared to be a set play explicitly designed for Mitchell as the primary option unfolded in a way that several analysts later described as completely misaligned with the defensive coverage that actually materialized, forcing the entire structure of the play to collapse into pure, desperate improvisation.
of people tend to forget that the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team did not have a 5-star player. But when you had Caitlin Clark as the captain of the ship, want to know what happened? A lot of these players looked like 5-star players. Caitlin Clark single-handedly helped players like Kate Martin get to the league and many others with the style of basketball she played. She distributed the basketball like a colonel when she was on the court. She demanded you knew where you were supposed to be, and you execute every
_in, _in.
Of schemes and strategy and rotate, like the whole thing. She's just not there, and we can see that with how often Caitlin Clark gets ISO'd with zero help. We know the whistle against her is absolutely insane, and we know Stephanie White will never, ever challenge a call for Caitlin Clark. Or, a call for Caitlin, or call against Caitlin Clark, maybe is a more accurate way of putting it. Despite Caitlin Clark constantly begging because of all the fouls that get called against her when she literally doesn't.
In that absolute chaos, the ball eventually found its way to Clark, not as the first read, not as the primary option, but as a desperate release valve when the initial action was completely disrupted. And from there, she made the kind of decision that has become legendary, defining her reputation since her earliest days as a generational perimeter scorer, rising from impossible deep range without a flicker of hesitation, and converting a shot that immediately shifted the result of the game. What followed, however, is where interpretation begins to diverge so sharply it feels like two different realities. Because while the basket itself was undeniable, a highlight for the ages, the emotional and organizational response around it became the immediate subject of intense scrutiny, especially when fans noticed that the celebration from the Fever sideline did not match the kind of unrestrained, explosive relief typically associated with such a dramatic game winner. In fact, the reactions on the bench appeared more measured, more controlled than authentically explosive. And that shocking contrast fueled an absolute firestorm of online speculation about whether the team dynamic was as cohesive, as unified as it should be, particularly in a season where expectations around Clark's presence have been magnified to an unprecedented, almost suffocating level. Adding even more fuel to that raging discourse was a moment involving teammate Sophie Cunningham, who was seen reacting enthusiastically in real time, only to later engage in social media activity that briefly amplified the excitement around the shot before reportedly being walked back. A development that fans interpreted in multiple, often conspiratorial ways, depending on their existing viewpoint about internal messaging discipline within the organization. This wasn't just a win, it was a public relations nightmare waiting to happen.
As Obi-Wan once told Anakin, I've got the high ground. Well, they've got the high ground because, look, the MLB doesn't have to worry about this. The NBA doesn't have to worry about this. The NFL certainly doesn't have to worry about this. College football doesn't have to worry about this. The WNBA absolutely has to worry about what fans think, because they can go back to having no ratings just like that. No viewership, just like
_in. Look, the impact of Caitlin Clark is undeniable. She's changed the dynamic and history forever for women's basketball. We see so many young girls here today, inspired, and she's even got me back into the game. But amidst that undeniable wave of inspiration, shortly after the game, comments from players and post-game interviews subtly suggested that the final play may not have unfolded exactly as originally designed. There were clear indications that the structure of the set prioritized Mitchell as the primary scoring option, and that Clark's involvement in the final shot was more circumstantial, more a product of broken play than a meticulously scripted moment. That detail alone would normally be a minor tactical footnote in most games. But here's the kicker. In this asterisk context, it became absolutely central to the conversation because it reinforced a broader, more troubling narrative that has followed the Fever throughout the entire season. Namely, whether their offensive identity is fully aligned with Clark's strengths as a high-usage, playmaking initiator, or if they're stubbornly trying to force her into a secondary, off-ball role that completely stifles her talent. Critics argue that the tension lies precisely there, in the stark contrast between a system that appears to emphasize isolation actions and mid-possession resets, and a player whose most dangerous impact comes from constant motion, pick-and-roll manipulation, and rapid, devastating decision-making that destabilizes defenses before they can even fully set. It's a complete mismatch, and everyone knows it. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. Still, the debate refuses to settle, largely because of the chilling emotional optics surrounding Clark's demeanor after the game, which became one of the most discussed visual narratives of the entire night. As cameras captured her in the locker room and during her post-game media availability, she maintained a level of seriousness, almost solemnity, that stood in stark contrast to the adrenaline-filled, game-winning moment she had just delivered on the court. Observers described her expression as unusually subdued, almost burdened, for a player who had just hit one of the most dramatic shots of her professional career. While some cautioned against overinterpreting body language in a high-pressure environment where fatigue, media obligations, and competitive intensity all converge at once, others couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. Now listen to this part. Even so, the imagery circulated widely enough that it became part of a larger, more uncomfortable conversation about how young star players are integrated into team structures when their individual gravity and marketability begin to far exceed the system, or even the entire team around them. That conversation is not new in professional sports, but it takes on a much sharper, more aggressive edge when the player in question is as visible, as scrutinized, and as financially impactful as Caitlin Clark, whose transition from college dominance to professional expectations has been followed with an intensity that leaves very little room for neutral interpretation. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. Within that pressure cooker environment, every substitution decision, every single play call, and every fleeting sideline interaction becomes magnified exponentially, often transformed into definitive evidence for broader arguments about leadership, adaptation, and the team's long-term direction. Some analysts have gone as far as suggesting that the Fever are still in the painful process of calibrating how to truly maximize Clark's unprecedented impact without allowing the offense to become overly predictable, a task they seem to be failing at spectacularly. While others believe the issue is far less about subtle tactical adjustment and far more about establishing a clear, often contentious, hierarchy within a roster that now features multiple capable scorers fiercely competing for rhythm and touches. What makes the situation infinitely more complex, and frankly more frustrating, is that both perspectives can appear valid, depending on which stretch of game footage is being analyzed. Because there are fleeting moments where the offense miraculously flows through Clark naturally, showcasing her brilliance, and then there are other, more frequent moments where the possession structure seems to deliberately shift her into secondary roles, almost as if to prove a point. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. And in that crippling inconsistency lies the true source of ongoing, venomous debate.